Hello, Helen.
Hi, Jo. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you very much. Yeah, pleased to have a chat with you.
Fab. Well, thank you so much for kind of reaching out, via LinkedIn. Just to repeat kind of the purpose of it is I'd been chatting with my team and also sort of some external conversations around people returning to work after lockdown and everything that's happened, and the level of anxiety really that people are starting to feel about returning to work, and then that kind of duty of care as an employer of how to help our teams get back. And I just talked about it on LinkedIn because I thought someone must be doing something, or there must be someone who can help me, not only with my own team but with other people, to really just to help people get back to work, because some people aren't used to working from home. Some people have been, really isolated over the last 12, 13 weeks, or however long it's been. And so that sense of getting back to work and going places is going to really, induce a lot of anxiety and panic when people start to think about work. And so I just thought there must be conversations to be had. And then you popped up on my LinkedIn, which was great. So and here we are. So it's just great to have that conversation, and I hope that people find some value in what we'll talk about, in just solutions of how we can help, tips of what we can do ourselves and things like that. So do you want to start by just kind of introducing yourself and kind of what you do and that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I'm Helen. My business is called Zoifos Limited. So we work with businesses on mindset and wellness. So our purpose is to transform and inspire workplaces to be a better place for employees to work, and then to the knock-on effects for there to be increased employee engagement and better profitability and productivity. So it's a win-win-win, really. So we primarily work with hospitality, technology and financial companies.
Fantastic. So you were just the person that I was looking
Could well be,
conversation with. So do you kind of agree that there's definitely that level of anxiety building around people? Have you started to have those conversations with people that you work with? Have you started to see that sense of, oh my God, I've got to go back to work? Ooh, I don't know, I don't want to.
Yes, there is a lot of anxiety, and one of the external conversations I had was it was with an accountancy firm, and they had the slightly unusual situation that their staff were happy to come back to work, but their partners were not happy for them to go. So It was also the home-work balance and the influences from outside as well.
Yeah.
But so for people coming back to work, yes, there are a lot of them worrying about the transport, how they're going to get there, particularly if they have to use public transport.
Yeah.
What will it be like? Will work be the same? Can you still have a chat around the water cooler? Or will social distancing still be enforced?
Yeah. There's so many things, isn't there? Like you think of it, yes, it's not just returning to the office, but you've got to think about how you get there. Those people that do travel by public transport, that's another kind of element, isn't it? And like you say, that those conversations, and I don't know whether people are just going to not know what, how to have those conversations, as well, and what they're allowed to be able to do. It's it's just a minefield, I think. And so I know people that I've spoken to have that fear. So as employers, like, we have a duty of care to look after our team. So what should we be doing in this, or what could we be doing for our staff and our teams?
I would invite the managers to prepare yourselves well first. Are you okay with going back to work? Have you dealt with your own stuff? Because if you haven't, that's where to start first. Because if you can show confidence as well as compassion to the staff, then that's going to be a great starting point. Because then they will feel happy coming to you, or more likely to feel happy coming to you and saying, I've got this bit of a problem, or I'm worried about this. So start with yourself and make sure you're okay. And if not, then there are some simple techniques to kind of cope. But there is other stuff that perhaps an outside provider like us might be able to do to help you do almost like leap the fence rather than have to climb slowly. So I'll come back to that bit later if that's all right. And then in terms of what to do and how to work with the employees, it's kind of almost like treating your staff as a friend almost, in that a lot of work environments would be, oh, hi mate, you all right? Yeah, and you're not really holding a space with me, you're not really listening to the answer. It's just a very passing conversation. Whereas now we need to be able to hold some space, allow the person to talk or not, observe their body language as well, because you've got that perfect thing to be seeing how that person is. And if it's somebody you've worked with, even for months beforehand, you know what they normally look and feel like. So I'd encourage the managers to both tap into how they see with their eyes visually, in terms of body language, tone of voice coming from their person, but also the gut instinct part. Because we're, as human creatures, we don't talk much about sort of the, the instinct, when we know that someone, next to us in the restaurant is a bit upset, you just know. So tap into that for your employees as well. And then ask them questions. How are you feeling? And actually want to know the answer. Be prepared for some of them saying, I'm really scared, or actually it's fantastic to come back to work. You can get any and all reactions. So it's be prepared. So first of all, resource yourself, be prepared, hold space, and ask questions. Are my four big tips, really.
That's absolutely brilliant. And I think that I think those questions are going to be missed, because I think some businesses and employees are going to be so focused on getting the business back and getting everything going again, that actually stopping and asking that question of, are you okay? And are you okay with this? Is going to be missed. And it's that assumption, isn't it, that we need to avoid, that our teams may not be okay. And but what you mentioned, body language. So I guess the other thing as well is not having those conversations over the phone, isn't it? Is it? And that, having a video call. So I know that there's been lots around kind of like Zoom fatigue and things like that, because you have that, you don't read body language as well as what you do when you're sort of with, face to face, sort of the actual space. But that's still important, isn't it, of having those, like a video call, so that you can read that language and not doing it over phone, or even worse, over an email.
Yes, or a text. Yes, absolutely. Because without context, you are really messed up then. Yeah, definitely. And phraseology of questions can be important. If you phrase your questions using, say, clean language on, what would you like to have happen next, is one of the ones, rather than go, you're right, coming back to work then. I mean, that's the second is very informal, which is quite good for helping people be at ease. But to ask a really open question without putting your own version of how you see things on people, that could be important as well. Yeah,
absolutely. It's that kind of what would be your ideal on returning to work, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
I think everybody's going to have different things that are going to, in terms of sort of scale of importance of what, everyone's going to be slightly different. So understanding what their version of, the ideal return is, that's key, isn't it? Because some people are going to be more concerned about, standing at the water cooler. Others are going to be more concerned about the toilets. And it's, it's that broad, making sure people are,
I think so, yeah. And asking the really simple general questions of how do you feel about coming back to work? Just keep it simple. It doesn't have to be a complex thing. No. And then you'll also get to identify the people that are actually really good with coming back, because maybe it's easier for them coming into an office environment than it was working from home.
Yes.
And those could perhaps be used to help motivate your other staff that are less keen. If you put people to work together in slightly unusual teams, you can use their own different preferences to help each other and pull the team forward.
It's a bit like when you start school and you start nursery and you have like a buddy to look after you on that kind of first few weeks and return. But that's right, isn't it? It's using those people and their outlook to help, because I think the last thing is people feeling alienated and alone in an environment when there's no need. So in terms of like those sort of questions that as employers we need to ask and check with, but how do, if an employee, if somebody's really nervous about returning to it and their manager, or hasn't asked the question, how, if people are a bit scared to have those conversations, how can they start? Because that in itself, knowing that you've got to have those conversations and ask those questions, can almost induce anxiety anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have a close relationship with your boss or your manager.
Mm-hmm.
So how can what tips can we give people to have those conversations with their managers?
I would suggest that we do use some of the traditional coping techniques. So get yourself in as steady a mindset as you possibly can. So simple things like go for a 5 or 10 minute walk outside, preferably amongst something green, because walking in nature is such a simple tonic. You don't have to think about anything or do anything. Just go for a little stroll and then come in and do it. Perhaps do it first thing in the morning or first thing after a lunch break, when you don't have as much time to think about it and to worry about the what ifs and stuff. Phrase it in terms of, I feel like this, or when you are acting like that, I feel like this, and these are the outcomes, and I'd like to change it like this. What do you think? Is a nice soft way of explaining the overall situation.
Yeah.
So that would be one of the good ones. Or another way to do it would be to do breathing. So do simple square breathing, where you slow your breathing down and focus on the actual breath going in and out. Sounds very yoga-ish, but you can do it anywhere. You don't have to be a meditator. It's just breathe in for 4 seconds, or 4 of anything. It doesn't matter how you count. Hold your breath for 4. Breathe out for 4. Hold it for 4. Repeat for a few minutes, and you will be surprised at how much more relaxed and calm you feel at that.
Yeah. It's going into those conversations feeling calm and confident in it, and then needing to be heard, isn't it? And it comes back to questions, doesn't it? And saying the right thing to get the response, and using, I do it a lot with the I feel, because that's your feeling, isn't it? And nobody can dispute that.
Absolutely.
That I feel that this return to work is too fast for me, or I don't feel well equipped enough. And if you're using that feeling that you have, then your manager or your boss can't say, well, it's a load of rubbish, because no, come on, get back to work, because it's how you feel. And they, as employers, we have that duty of care to help and to make sure that our teams are okay. Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of kind of mindset, it's an anxiety. There's lots of people that perhaps haven't experienced anxiety before this situation, but the lockdown and being isolated has given them as their first kind of, whether it be anxiety attacks, but that panic attack. So what sort of more sort of tips and sort of that mindset of actually it's okay not to feel okay, isn't it? That, and how can we help people with that?
I suggest perhaps doing that with stories. So anxiety is perfectly normal and a good thing. If we didn't worry about anything and we weren't fearful of anything, then we'd be putting our hands in fires, walking off cliffs, all sorts. So it's perfectly natural and normal to have both for different situations. It's only a problem when it carries on or has significant impact on our sort of wider world. So I would perhaps suggest doing perhaps a different analogy. Using analogies and metaphors is quite a good way of talking around things, because people can dip into it and add their own little bit to it without it feeling as personal. Yeah. So maybe the fire alarm one. So, anxiety is a bit like a fire alarm. You need it to go off and tell you to get out of that burning building. And that's really good and really essential, but you want that fire alarm to turn off. So it's only a problem if you can't find the reset button. And then if you can't find the reset button, or the fire can't be put out, then that's the time to perhaps go and ask the managers for additional resource. And the managers might find that additional resource in some unusual places. So they can use someone like me. We'd be more than happy to do group sessions to help people get over sort of the back to work anxiety, that is certainly something we could do. But something that employers may already have that they've already paid for is lots of the insurance policies for general business, so for hotels, for offices and the like. If people get their policy wording out, the long boring thing, there might be 30 pages of text, just look at the first couple of pages inside and there will often be an employee assistance programme. Might only be a tiny paragraph, but it will say, you know, legal or emotional helpline. You can ring us for all these things. So as a manager, have a look and see if you've got one of those. If you have, give them a ring and see if it's okay to refer your staff to them. In lots of cases, it will be. So you've got that free service there straight away.
That's amazing. That's something that I never knew, and I shall dig out my insurance. Honestly. But that's amazing. I wonder how many businesses know that they have that connected with their insurance. Wow. Okay. And what are the kind of, you know, if somebody wanted to use, how would you help the business? What's the taking sort of through the process of how you'd help that team and that manager?
Okay. So we do everything on a bespoke basis, because if we use hotels, one hotel is not the same as another hotel, and a single hotel is not the same as a chain. No two things are the same. So we don't do, oh, your 2 hotels, therefore we'll give you this, or your 20 staff will give you that. So it'd be very much talking to the employees or the managers, probably the managers or the owners initially, to find out where the problems are and then begin to build a programme. So we might do the resilience for the managers to be able to help them, as I say, jump the fence. So by being able to dial down your own anxiety and pack it away in a little box for next time you need it, could be the thing that we need. So by doing that, that might then allow you to go on and resource your employees without the need for us. So we'll do all sorts of different things on whether we need to build up confidence, whether we're needing to introduce new ideas or even get new ideas. So we're both very much on getting rid of negative emotions that are not helpful, dealing with trauma, but also building people up and opening them up to new ways of thinking and changing the mindset to be one of change and expansion. Yeah. So either one-to-ones or group sessions to suit the situation, and each program is separate. Does that give enough information?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think with things like this, it has to be bespoke, isn't it? Because you can't put, and everybody's feeling of anxiety, stress. It's very different for everybody, isn't it? And so you can't necessarily treat everybody the same.
No.
But it's that mindset. I can remember speaking to one of my coaches a couple of years ago, and we were talking about sort of anxiety and what stress feels like. And we had to list, it was a really interesting exercise, because we had to list all of the physical things that we feel when we're stressed or we're anxious. So it's that sort of knot in your stomach, you feel a bit shaky, all the feelings, and then we had to turn the paper upside down and then write down all of the things that when we get excited.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, when we get excited, what you feel. And again, it's the knot in the stomach. It's you get a bit shaky. You get, all of those things. It's like it's the same. It's the same, but it's not. But it's knowing how you take that energy, isn't it? And that feeling. I don't know quite what you do with it, but it's then. It's the same, and it was really interesting to do. So when if you obviously do that as well, what is the thing behind that? What
it's to do with the stress responses of the brain. So the brain and the unconscious mind is there to protect us all the time, but sometimes it goes a bit haywire. It's a little bit like using a computer analogy. The computers get clogged up, or the old programs slow down. So the same sort of principle works for the human brain as well. So what was looking like excitement now becomes fear. So we have to go back in, recalibrate those little brain cells, and then they can become excitement again, forget that they were viewing everything as fear.
Yeah.
The human brain will always look for the most negative, because it's trying to protect us from everything it thinks is damaging.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so kind of, that's kind of nice to sort of, in terms of rounding it bring it back round, it's like, that's what anxiety and this, it's trying to protect us. So it's a natural feeling to feel anxious or panicked about returning to work, because actually we're just trying to protect ourselves from something that it's not forgotten, is it? But we've been through so much in the last 12 weeks. It's then it's okay to feel like that, because it's just us trying to protect ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah.
And another easy top tip: avoid the news as much as possible, particularly before you go to bed, because the news hype is all about hyping up and making bad stuff look worse.
Yeah.
So take your own independent, intelligent view of everything that gets put in front of you, and don't put all that negative energy and information in your brain and your body before you go to bed. Better night's sleep, wake up more refreshed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like it was sort of week 3 I stopped listening, because it's just so much. I mean, you can see it from some of the photos of crowded beaches, and then you see another angle and it's not, and it is that, making things appear sort of a lot worse.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so in terms of I've learned loads already, so this is like ace.
That's right.
How can people find out about what you can do if they're interested in speaking to you? For you to help, their teams, organisations, etc. How can people find out about you?
There's a website, a Facebook page. Website is zoifos.global. And I can send you my email and phone contacts so people can ring or email direct. And I've got a 5 tips for wellness sheet, which I can share with you and then share to any of your contacts. So anybody that is listening to this, just drop Jo or I a line and I'll happily send it out for you.
Yeah.
Just got 5 simple tips. And I've got a fact sheet for going back to work on how to ask those questions in a good way. So I'm more than happy to share that as a free resource as well.
Absolutely.
I'll put that on the website, but share it with you too.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And then if there's any more webinars or anything that you're doing, then share that link with me, because again, we can share it around, because we work with lots of different attractions and hotels. So being able to provide that information back to them would be absolutely brilliant. So thank you. I really enjoyed. I'm going to go and check my insurance policy.
And if you get stuck on where to look, just give me a shout.
Yeah. So urge everybody to do the same, and get your top tips, and then talk to my team and actually ask the right questions. So, cool.
It works out really well. So thanks very much for the time. I've enjoyed chatting to you too.
Brilliant. Thank you, Helen.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jo. See ya.